Welcome to a new video, and this is my continuation looking at top songs from 1972. If you watched my 11 to 20 video that I posted a week or so back, I hope you enjoyed it. We're now going to get on to the top 10 songs for 1972. Of course, these are all released as singles, no album tracks. They may have appeared on albums, but they were originally intended as single hits. So let's get started with number 10, You Wear It Well by Rod Stewart. Yeah, he made some great singles at around this time. This song written by Rod and Martin Quintenton, and it used an arrangement pretty similar to Maggie May, which was a huge hit from Every Picture Tells a Story. This album, You Wear It Well, was from the album Never a Dull Moment, which was released in the same year, and the song reached number 11 in the UK singles charts. I love the song. I love the lyric, and more of that in a moment. Stewart performed the song live on BBC Top of the Pops with the Faces, and Quintenton was on classical guitar. We also had an appearance by Tricky Dicky Powell on fiddle, which really made the live experience, or so-called live experience on Top of the Pops, all the more enjoyable. The lyrics, well, they tell a story of regret, the regret of a loving relationship that basically got fouled up. There's some great words, and I'm going to go through those lyrics in full. There will be a slide as usual, and so you can peruse that. So what's going to happen then? Well, actually, I've decided not to read the words. You know, it's a song and you need to sing, and I ain't that good at singing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the words up, and you can read them at your leisure. And it really does tell the tale of a relationship and the emotions felt by the male when he knows that he's lost out on what could have been a tremendous love affair which would have lasted. So there we have it. At number 10 then, You Wear It Well by Rod Stewart, a classic. Gonna make these snippets a little bit shorter. The first video was far too long. Anyway, my number 9, it's Vincent by Don McLean. Not an artist that I'm absolutely in love with, to be absolutely honest, but this song I thought was far better than American Pie, which really drove me crazy. This song, Vincent, written as a tribute to the great painter Vincent van Gogh. And if you're interested in Vincent van Gogh, I suggest you check out a fantastic movie in the mid-50s called Lust for Life, where the great and sadly gone now Kirk Douglas plays Van Gogh. More back to the song. It's often titled after its opening refrain, Starry Starry Night, which is again a reference to Van Gogh's 1889 painting, The Starry Night. Anyway, McLean wrote the lyrics in 1971 after reading a book about the life of Van Gogh, and it was released on his American Pie album, released in 71. The following year, the song Vincent topped the UK singles chart for 2 weeks, and it hit number 2 in the easy listening chart in the States as well. The song has a guitar. We also hear accordion, marimba, and there are some delightful strings. The original handwritten lyric to this song was sold in July 2020 for the ridiculous sum of $1.5 million. Wow. I bet that pleased Don a little. In 1970, he wanted to write a song about Van Gogh, and he was being... his point was that Van Gogh was being very emotionally impacted by the rejection of the woman, and this song by Don sort of empathised really, with the painter's tragic suicide. And I'm going to read some of the lyric now, so you once again you can get a real taste of how important this lyric was into making this song extremely memorable. So here goes with these beautiful lyrics. Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and grey. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills, sketch the trees and the daffodils. Catch the breeze and the winter chills in colours on the snowy linen land. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now, starry, starry night. Flaming flowers that brightly blaze, swirling clouds in violet haze, reflecting Vincent's eyes of china blue, colours changing, hue morning, fields of amber grain, weathered faces lined in pain, and soothed beneath the artist's loving hand. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now, for they could not love you, but still your love was true. And when no hope was left in sight, oh, that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Starry, starry night, portraits hung in empty halls, frameless heads on nameless walls, with eyes that watch the world and can't forget, like the strangers that you met, the ragged men in ragged clothes, the silver thorn of bloody rose, lie crushed and broken on the virgin snow. Now I think I know what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not know. They're not listening. Still, perhaps they never will. Yeah, I'm obviously reading this. I haven't memorized it. And as I read, with some pace, my eyes are probably moving down because I haven't got a teleprompter. Okay, so just to explain that, but I hope it hasn't spoilt your viewing, and hopefully you were able to listen to that, and you can also, of course, read it all on my script. So that's my number 9. That's Vincent, Starry, Starry Night by Don McLean. Okay, it's time for my number 8 offering now, and this is the awesome song Starman by David Bowie. Of course, the lead single off his 5th album, the 5-star The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. The band, of course, on this album were guitarist Rick Ronson, bassist Trevor Boulder, and drummer Mick Woodmanso. And the lyrics, of course, describe Ziggy Stardust bringing a message of hope to Earth's youth through the radio, salvation by an alien, Starman. The chorus is inspired a little by Over the Rainbow, a song sung long before by the great actress and singer Judy Garland. Now, following Bowie's performance of the song on Top of the Pops, the song reached number 10 in the UK singles charts and helped propel the album Ziggy Stardust to number 5. It was his first major hit since Space Oddity, which came 3 years earlier, and the performance on Top of the Pops impacted a huge number of notables, and I'll name just a few. Susie Sue from Susie and the Banshees, Bono from U2, Robert Smith from The Cure, Boy George from Culture Club, and of course a Morrissey from The Smiths. The author similarity to Space Oddity are clear, with the titles both referencing space travel. However, the song features a string arrangement from Ronson, which is absolutely fantastic. And in the lyric, he brings a message of hope, as I said, to the earth. So continuing, Bowie actually commented on his lyric, and this is what he had to say. Ziggy is advising a dream by the infinities to write the coming of a Starman. So he writes Starman, which is the first news of hope that the people have heard. So they latch onto it immediately. The Starman that he is talking about are called the infinites, and they are black hole jumpers. Ziggy has been talking about his amazing spaceman who will be coming down to save the Earth. They arrive somewhere in Greenwich Village, and they don't have a care in the world and are of no possible use to us. They just happen to stumble into our universe by black hole jumping, and their whole life is travelling from universe to universe. In the stage show, one of them resembles Brando, would you believe, and another is a black New Yorker. And I even have one called Queenie the Infinite Fox. Of course, Space Oddity, his previous hit single, was pure science fiction. However, Starman is less than and more of a self-aggrandizing, I'm quoting now, a self-aggrandizing announcement that there's a new star in town, and his name began with D. During his performance of Starman on Top of the Pops, Bowie pointed directly at the camera when singing the lyric. I had to phone someone, so I picked on you. Who? And a music journalist at the time that was on TV and wrote for The Guardian, his name David Hepworth, calls this the exact moment in which Bowie became a star. I'm not quite sure about that, but it was a terrific moment, and I remembered watching it. Of course, I was 18 years old at the time. So we're now going to get a taste of the lyric. It's a pretty long lyric, and I hope you bear with me. So quickly moving on to track 7 in my top 10 singles for 1972. This is a song called Hold Your Head Up by a band, a British band that I really loved at the time, particularly when I heard this single, called Argent. And of course they were a rock band, and it was released as a single in 72. The song hit the top 5 in the US and the UK. However, it was really the band's only song to chart. Liar, I think, or a song about that, was a minor hit. The song appeared on the third Argent album All Together Now. They made quite a number of albums, but modicum of success. It's written by Chris White and credited to him and Rod Argent, who was obviously the band named after him. The song had a very solid riff about it, almost war march style on the bass, and Argent's keyboards stand out throughout. One Rick Wakeman, who was quite handy on a piano and keyboard, heaped praise on Argent's work on this album, on this track, and he described it as the greatest organ solo ever. Well, I might actually quibble with that. There's a few organ solos by one Keith Emerson that will possibly get that accolade. Mind you, Emerson not renowned for his singles, either with the Nice or ELP, but certainly an absolutely tremendous keyboard player. But anyway, back to Hold Your Head Up, Argent. Lyrics, bit mundane really. Best to focus on the instrumentation and the sound to get a real feel for this song's appeal. So I won't bore you with those lyrics. So moving on, folks, we're up to number 6 now on my top 10, and it's Virginia Plain by Roxy Music. Roxy Music has appeared on the music scene, and this was their debut single. The single actually didn't appear on their debut album initially. but reissues covered it. It was written by Brian Ferry, of course, Roxy's frontman, and became a top 10 hit in the UK, peaking at number 4. And it begins with a deceptively quiet introduction, followed by an instant increase in volume as soon as the vocals come in. And of course, what vocals they were from Brian Ferry. Very distinctive. You knew immediately a Roxy Music song when you heard his singing. He was a former art student, and the title, Virginia Plain, was from a painting that he did himself. And it featured an image of cigarette packaging. Virginia Plain was a variety of cigarette tobacco at this particular time, and in the 60s. And Ferry later said in an interview that it was a watercolour or a painting on paper. It was just like a surreal drawing of a giant cigarette packet with a pin-up girl on it. I like that phrase, Virginia Plain, so it later became the title of the single I put out with the band. And the name Robert E. Lee in the lyric refers to music industry lawyer Robert Lee, who's practicing in a London law firm at the time. Warhol's superstar, one Baby Jane Holzer, is also referenced in the lyrics, and the lyric quotes, "Baby Jane's in Acapulco, we are flying down to Rio, and can't you see that, Holzer, Maine?" Phil Manzanera's guitar solo, of course, on the single was improvised apparently. But anyway, that is my take on Virginia Plain, and we're going to quickly run through the musicians and have a sneak peek at the lyric again. Before I get onto the band, two intriguing pieces of information that I got about this single. Their performance on Top of the Pops apparently was parodied on Shooting Stars and Big Train, in which it is sung by Mao Zedong from his deathbed. I think that's probably a complete piece of imagination. Can't believe that at all. But it was featured prominently in Todd Haynes' movie released in 1998 called Velvet Goldmine. Now to the musicians played on Virginia Plain. Brian Ferry on vocals, piano, mellotron, and mellotron. Andy Mackay's on oboe and sax, Brian Eno on synthesizer, Paul Thompson drums, Manzanera on guitar, and Rick Kenton on bass guitar. So now you know. Okay, to those lyrics then, to Virginia Plain. So we're at the halfway mark now. It's number 5 in my top 10 songs from 1972, and any top 10 list for this year really must include this next one. Probably should be higher, but you know, always a problem getting rankings to agree with all your audience. Number 5 for me though, Superstition by Stevie Wonder. Of course, it's from the album, his 15th studio album, it's Talking Book, and the lyrics describe popular superstitions, note the title, and their negative effect. It reached number 1 in the US in January 1973, and it peaked at number 11 in the UK charts February 1973 as well. But released in late 72, at the 16th Grammy Awards, the song earned Wonder 2 Grammys, Best Rhythm and Blues Song and Best R&B Vocal Performance by a Male. And a sample from Superstition, the song contains a funk-orientated sound with a bass line and the riff played by Wonder, of course. He preferred playing virtually all of his instruments on his albums and songs. But on this album, he did invite one legendary guitar player from the UK, Jeff Beck, to play on the album, and I think he added a little few touches to this song. Certainly very influential anyway. Wonder released the song as a single, but later on, this is an interesting fact, Beck also included a version of this song, Superstition, on the album he made with Tim Boga and Carmen Apache, titled Beck, Boga and Apache, and that was released in 1973. So there you know. The funky clarinet riff played on a Hofner clarinet Model C, and the Moog synthesizer bass and vocals, of course, all performed by Stevie the Wonder Kid. And in addition, the song featured a bit of trumpet and tenor sax, played respectively by one Steve Madio and Trevor Lawrence. So, what comes next? Lyric, of course. I'm really into lyrics these days, and I think they're sadly neglected when we describe music, popular music, and lyrics can make or break a record. They're often neglected, of course, and that's why so many singer-songwriters fell by the wayside, because they really didn't become that successful. But there are exceptions. Anyway, let's move on to those lyrics. So let's get on to number 4 then, Rocket Man. Officially titled Rocket Man. I think it's going to be a long time. Written by Elton John, of course, and songwriter Bernie Taupin. Originally released in 1972 on the 17th of April, and it was the lead single of John's album Honky Chateau, which is an absolutely gorgeous album, one of his best. The song covered by many artists, most notably by Kate Bush in 91, with a reggae tinged version. The song was inspired by a short story, The Rocket Man in the Illustrated Man, by Ray Bradbury, a very famous science fiction writer, and echoes the theme of David Bowie's 69 song Space Odyssey, and both of the recordings were produced by Gus Dudgeon. The song describes a Mars-bound astronaut and mixed feelings at leaving Earth to do his job. And the song's opening lines are, "She packed my bags last night, pre-flight, 0 hours, 9 a.m. and I'm going to be high as a kite by then." Musically, the song is a classical rock ballad highlighting John's piano with synthesizers and backing vocals combination by his band. The song's been a staple of John's concerts since this release. He played Rocket Man at the launch site of Space Shuttle Discovery in 1998, and in tribute to the late David Bowie in January 2016, he combined Rocket Man with Bowie's Space Odyssey. On the song, we have Elton John on piano and lead vocals. David Henshall played ARP synthesizer. Davey Johnson on electric slide and acoustic guitars plus backing vocals. Dean Murray bass guitar and backing vocals, and Nigel Olsen on drums and backing vocals. Now, in an attempt to get this video out and keeping it shorter, I'm going to display the slide now to the lyrics, which you can peruse at your leisure. I'm not going to read it. Can't sing really, so reading is a bit okay, so that's number 4 then, Rocket Man, Elton John. Terrific. And talking about it, number 3, we've got All the Young Dudes by Melt the Hoople, a song written and produced by, yeah, you've guessed it, David Bowie, and it's regarded as very much an anthem of glam rock. The song was a huge hit for Hunter and his band, who were on the verge of splitting up prior to the recording of the song. The band had released 4 albums, some of them pretty good, and had a small loyal following, but they were broke. Anyway,
February 72, Bowie sent them a demo for Suffragette City, but the bassist Pete Watts politely rejected it, stating the band had already broken up. Bowie reacted and contacted Watts back a couple of hours later and met him a few days later and played All the Young Dudes on acoustic guitar. To that, Watts was impressed, and a second audition, so to speak, with the band convinced Hunter that it had hit quality, and as they say, the rest is history. The band recorded the song in May 72 in London, with Bowie producing, of course, and the band added a long extended fade out to the song as the chorus repeats to a fade, and the lyrics name-checked contemporaries such as Mark Bolan, and contained references also to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Bowie himself once claimed that the song was not intended to be an anthem for glam and actually carried a very much darker message of apocalypse. There was also some suggestion by Lou Reed that it was an anthem for the gay community. But anyway, Mott the Hoople then later titled their fifth album after the song. And throughout the autumn of that year, the band joined Bowie and the Spiders from Mars on his tour of the US. The original Motley Hoople release had to be changed lyrically in order that it might be played on UK radio and television. The line in the second verse, Wendy stealing clothes from Marks and Spencer's, was replaced with Wendy stealing clothes from unlocked cars, so not to infringe pop copyright. Anyway, All the Young Dudes was featured in the 1995 film Clueless, the 2007 James Reitman film Juno, and the 2008 film The Whackness, none of which I'm familiar with, but anyway, you can check them out. And it was also used in Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant's film Cemetery Junction. This song is regarded as one of the classic Graham Locke's best recordings. And who played on it? Well, Ian Hunter on lead vocals and piano. Mick Rouse was on acoustic guitar, lead guitar and backing vocals. Pete Overend Watts played bass and backing vocals. Dale Griffin drums and tambourine. And then a few other notables, including the great David Bowie on backing vocals. Lyric, yeah, it's there for you to read on the slide. I'm not going to go through it. I don't want to get too many of my viewers bored with my singing. Okay, there it is, number 3, All the Young Dudes by Mott the Hoople. Okay, for those who followed my video through to this point, you'll probably notice that there's another change of clothing. Yeah, I shoot these videos a little at a time, and new shirt, new song, number 2. Yeah, number 2 in my top 10 is Let's Stay Together by the American singer Al Green, sometimes referred to as the Reverend Al Green. It's from his 1972 album of the same name, produced and recorded by Willie Mitchell, and released as a single in 1971, but became a chart success really through to 72, a number 1 Billboard Hot 100 for 16 weeks, and also topped the R&B chart for 9 weeks. And Rolling Stone, I used to be quite interested in their rankings, actually ranked this song as the 60th greatest of all time. That was in their 2004 list. And of course, this song was also covered by Tina Turner, and what a great version that was as well. As I say, great song. Why do I love it? Well, it screams singing, really. It's absolutely full of emotion, particularly that sort of R&B male voice that I fell in love with in the 60s. The words,
Also very powerful, sums up how people need to work at relationships that matter and grow together. Too easy to get divorced due to work, money or lack of time, and people need to stay aware of what's important in life. Green was, as I referred to, a preacher, so there may be an element of morality included in the lyric. And a quick rundown of the musicians. There'll be a slide, of course. 2 drummers on this song, and none of the members of his rhythm section meant anything to me. Bass guitar, Charles Hodges on organ and piano, and there was a horn section, which of course is exquisite on this single song. Trumpet, tenor sax and baritone sax with a bit of trombone thrown in, and of course to wrap it all neatly together, Al Green's vocals. There's a slide anyway for you to have a peruse of that. And as for the lyric, well, I'm going to tap on the end of this a lyric for you so you can read it. It's really lovely, the lyric on this song, and that's why I've selected it as number 2. I'm a bit of an old-fashioned guy, really. So that's number 2 in my countdown. Let's Stay Together by Al Green. Okay, you're probably wondering when this video was going to end. Well, we are at the summit now. Number 1, probably a song that few would have predicted really by me, but I'm selecting School's Out by Alex Cooper as my number 1 favourite song for 1972. Title track of his 5th album, of course, or their 5th album, depending on whether you want to you call the Alice Cooper the band or the name of the lead singer. It was the only single off the album, and his biggest international hit, and has been regarded as his signature song. And it also reached the top of the UK singles chart. A little bit about this song now. It was inspired to write the song when answering the question, what's the greatest 3 minutes of your life? And Cooper suggested that there were 2 times during the year. One, Christmas morning, when you're just getting ready to open those presents. The greed factor is right there. And the next one is the last 3 minutes of the last day of school, when you're sitting there waiting for the bell to ring, and it's like a slow fuse burning. If we could catch those 3 minutes in a song, it's going to be so big. Holidays, yeah. The lyric indicates not only that the school year ended for summer vacation, but potentially ended forever, and that the school itself has been literally blown up. Alice always did have a sense of occasion, and it incorporates the childhood rhyme, no more pencils, no more books, no more teachers, dirty looks, into its lyrics. It also featured children contributing some of the vocals. Innocence in the lyric, and "We got no innocence" is frequently changed in concert to intelligence. Ha ha ha. Probably quite apt that. The song ends with a school bell sound that fades out. Now, later performances of this song live saw Cooper incorporate parts of the first verse of another famous school song, Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, Pink Floyd, From the Wall, of course. And both of the songs, ironically, were produced by the same guy, Bob Ezrin. Some radio stations, however, took umbrage and banned the song, stating that it gave the students an impression of rebelliousness against childhood education. Teachers, parents, principals and counsellors and psychologists basically demanded that radio stations stop playing the song. Why do I love it? Well, yeah. In 1972, I was 18 years of age, and it has to be said, I was just about leaving school, and girls had taken on an interest in my life. Prior to that, I was football crazy, and getting into music, of course, heavily. Well, anyway, me and three of my mates, we'd been involved in running a sort of disco in our free time. Three of them were working, but I was the only lazy one. But we decided to go on holiday together, and it was summer of 1972, and we decided to go to Butlins holiday camp. Now, for those people in England, many of them will recall this. It was a cheap holiday where you went and got a suntan if the sun was out. You tended to get pretty boozed up and had a whale of a time. Well, also families went there. Well, us four lads, we had 2 rooms between the 4 of us, and we were hitting the disco in the evening, and we came across 2 young girls there, and we started to have a little holiday fling. Nothing naughty now, as they were 16 and 14 respectively, and we were all 18. But throughout the day, guess what was being played non-stop? School's Out by Alice Cooper. So that's it. That's why I love this song. That's why it's number 1. There's a couple of slides for you to peruse, the personnel on the song and those rather rebellious lyrics. So feast yourselves on those at the end of this, and we've now come to the end of my top 10 for 1972. I hope you've stayed with us, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for listening and watching.